In Revenge of the Sith, Anakin Skywalker burns on Mustafar, the Jedi Order falls, and a man in black becomes a weapon that pays for every breath. But what if that weapon was never forced into a life support cage? What if Emperor Palpatine repaired Darth Vader properly, restoring his body, his mobility, and the power the suit's limits made feel inevitable? In this version of the story, Palpatine makes the smarter choice, and it ruins him. Let's begin. Mustafar is still alive when the Emperor arrives. Heat crawls up the ramp of the shuttle like a living thing. Ash drifts in sheets. The sky is red, but not sunset red. Furnace red. Palpatine steps down with his cane tapping metal. Guards fanning out behind him, trying not to stare at the lava like it can see them back. He doesn't look at the horizon. He looks inward. A presence in the Force. Jagged. Fading. Enormous. Then he finds it. A shape in the slag, half submerged where rock turns to liquid. Not a warrior. Not even a man anymore. Just pain, screaming in the open air. Anakin Skywalker. For one beat, Palpatine's face stills. Not pity. Calculation catching its breath. A clone commander shifts beside him, voice careful. "Sir, he may be too far gone." Palpatine turns his head slowly. The heat feels like it drops anyway. "Rescue him." The commander hesitates a fraction too long. Palpatine's eyes narrow. "Or join him." Troopers move fast, terrified. They rush down with a stretcher, as if the lava might leap up and punish them for touching what it claimed. Anakin's screams tear through helmets and discipline. He's alive. Barely. And Palpatine watches like someone looking at the future through smoke. On the ascent back to the shuttle, Palpatine speaks without looking away. "Send the Coruscant Guard. Find Senator Amidala." A guard starts to ask where. Palpatine's voice cuts him off. "You will find her. Bring her to me." He doesn't call it an arrest. He doesn't call it a hunt. He calls it recovery, like she's a misplaced piece of equipment he needs returned. But even Palpatine's reach has blind spots, and by the time his men get to her, she is already gone. The shuttle lifts. Mustafar shrinks into a burning coin below. And in the med bay, Anakin's body thrashes against straps, skin peeling, lungs failing, the Force flaring in violent reflex. This is the moment the galaxy later describes as the birth of Vader. Pain is useful, but it is also noise. It makes a weapon erratic. It makes focus leak. Palpatine doesn't want an apprentice fighting his own body before he fights the galaxy. He wants Vader clean, fast, and controllable, so he chooses success. Coruscant's medical theater is cold and bright. The kind of light that makes blood look too honest. Droids swarm. Monitors chirp. The operating table locks Anakin down because even half-dead, he is dangerous. Palpatine stands behind a glass partition while surgeons and med droids work like a factory line, stabilize, cleanse, replace, restore. A human medic glances at a readout, pale. His tissue damage is catastrophic. We can keep him alive, but... Palpatine leans toward the intercom. "I didn't ask what you can't do." A protocol droid tries to calculate expense. The cost of full regenerative reconstruction at this scale is... Palpatine smiles without warmth. "Then it will be expensive." What the Emperor buys isn't standard prosthetics. Not simply mechanical limbs bolted to bone. He buys time, secrecy, and Camino. A sealed channel opens to Tipoca City. Rain hammers the platforms. Kaminoans move like living instruments, long-necked silhouettes in sterile halls. Nala Se receives the transmission in a room that smells of disinfectant and salt air. Palpatine's hologram flickers above the floor. "You understand discretion." Nala Se's eyes are unreadable. "We understand contracts. I need tissue regrowth, limb replication, organ replacement, a full restoration." "From what template?" Palpatine's smile deepens. "From him." Nala Se studies the data streaming in. Burn patterns, genetic markers. The Force is not on her charts, but the damage is. It will take months, multiple procedures, cellular synthesis at volumes far beyond field medicine. Palpatine's tone is flat. "You will be paid double. You will say nothing. You will use the template only for this purpose." Nala Se pauses. "And when the Empire no longer needs Camino?" Palpatine's gaze doesn't flicker. Camino will be rewarded. The lie is gentle, professional, and even here it has an end date, so Palpatine pulls what he wants first. Samples, methods, specialists, quietly extracting key personnel and research before his new regime finishes swallowing the program. Days pass, then weeks. Anakin doesn't wake to metal claws and a prison mask. He wakes in stages, breath steady, heart no longer panicking, pain sedated into a dull roar. Bandages give way to clean grafts. Scorched muscle becomes rebuilt muscle. Cloned skin settles over old ruin until the ruin is covered. When he finally opens his eyes, the room is quiet. Too clean, too calm. Palpatine sits beside the bed like a patient relative. "So," he says softly, "you live." Anakin's throat is raw. His mind is a storm of heat and betrayal and falling. "Padme." Palpatine does not rush. He lets the name hang, then answers with practiced sorrow. "She is dead." Anakin tries to sit up. His body obeys more than it should. It moves. It works. That realization hits him almost as hard as the words. "No," he says, voice cracking. "Where is she?" Palpatine tilts his head like a man delivering a tragedy. "Kenobi took her. She was weakened. The birth was difficult. They did everything they could." Anakin's breath shakes. "My child." Palpatine's eyes narrow, careful. There was no child. It keeps the twins hidden. It keeps Vader pointed forward. It keeps the lie small enough to survive inside him. Grief turns. Rage rises. The room responds. A tray slides across the floor and smashes into a wall. Lights flicker. A monitor rips free and dangles by wires. Droids beep alarms and retreat. Palpatine doesn't step back. He steps closer and places a hand on Anakin's shoulder. Calm pressure, like a vice that doesn't show its teeth. "You are angry," Palpatine says. "Good, but not here. Not now." Anakin's jaw clenches. "They took everything," Palpatine's voice lowers. "Then we will take the galaxy." And when Anakin can finally stand without swaying, Palpatine gives him the name that turns a person into a function. "Vader," he says. Simple. Final. The reconstruction finishes in secrecy thick enough to suffocate. It takes Kaminoan technique and Coruscant resources and rooms guarded by red-robed sentinels who don't ask questions. When it's finally done, Anakin stands barefoot on clean stone and looks into a mirror. A young man looks back. No life support mask, no ruined mouth, no mechanical wheeze, no cage. But Palpatine doesn't want Anakin Skywalker walking the galaxy. And Vader doesn't want it either. So even without needing the helmet to breathe, he still chooses the Vader look. Black armor, cape, a dark helm for the public, because fear travels faster than truth, and symbols survive longer than faces. For a moment, in that quiet room, Anakin smiles anyway. Palpatine watches from behind him and feels something rare. Pride. Then something colder. Worry. Training begins immediately. Not with painful calibrations. With speed. With refinement. With the kind of movement Palpatine wanted from the start. He takes Vader into private halls beneath the Imperial Palace, places built on old Republic bones. They spar until the air tastes like ozone. Palpatine corrects angles, fixes footwork, demands patience. Vader learns fast, too fast. The Force moves through him cleanly. His strikes get heavier without getting slower. His reflexes sharpen until Palpatine starts to feel the pressure of being matched. Palpatine hides it behind critique. Again, Vader obeys. Again. And in the dark, the rule of two stirs like a knife being honed. Palpatine moves before Vader fully realizes he has become a threat. He keeps him away from the throne, not by chains, by purpose. "You will be my fist," Palpatine says one night on a balcony overlooking Coruscant's endless lights. The Empire has fires in the Outer Rim, separatist holdouts, criminal syndicates, rebels forming in the shadows. Vader's expression hardens. "Kenobi," Palpatine's gaze stays on the city. "Not yet." "You fear I'll come back," Vader says. Palpatine turns, smiling like a mentor. "I fear nothing, but the galaxy must learn your name. You will be seen." You will be obeyed. Vader hears the strategy under the flattery. Distance. Keep the blade busy so it doesn't turn toward the hand holding it. He goes anyway. He takes the 501st into the Outer Rim like a storm moving on a map. Worlds that thought the war ended learn what Imperial Order looks like when it has a face. He wins, repeatedly, and his reputation outruns the holofeeds, a dark figure with human eyes and the certainty of a machine. But war shows him something he can't unsee. The clones. They stand in perfect rows. They obey without hesitation. They fought for the Republic. They killed Jedi because something inside them told them to. And now the Empire talks about phasing them out like outdated gear. Vader hears officers call it logistics. He hears senators call it efficiency. He watches new stormtroopers arrive, cheaper, less loyal, more disposable, and something in him recognizes the pattern. Used, replaced. He becomes difficult, not loud, not reckless, just present. In meetings where governors expect silent intimidation, he speaks. In briefings where clone casualties are treated like numbers, he says names. When someone jokes about accelerated aging, he doesn't laugh. A commander tries to smooth it over. "My lord, it's simply logistics." Vader's eyes lift. "So was I." The line spreads through corridors like a rumor. Jokes die when he enters a room. He finds allies in a place he never expected. Reformists, senators who can't overthrow Palpatine but can slow him. People who survive by never saying the true thing plainly. They see Vader's interest in clone welfare and think leverage. Vader sees their access and thinks tool. Bail Organa is among them, standing in the Senate with his face arranged into diplomacy, eyes colder than his voice. He cannot forgive Anakin for Padme. He cannot refuse a crack in Palpatine's machine. They speak once in a side corridor beneath chandeliers that used to mean dignity. "You want my help?" Bail says quietly. Vader's gaze doesn't move. "I want results." Bail's jaw tightens. "You're asking for mercy for men who helped murder the Jedi." Vader's voice drops. "They were programmed, just like I was manipulated." Bail doesn't flinch. "That doesn't absolve you." It lands. Clean. True. Vader turns away first. It doesn't, but it changes what comes next. He makes an offer that sounds like compassion and functions like strategy. Send him the clone units slated for dismissal. Let other generals clear their rosters. He will take them, feed them, keep them together, keep their loyalty pointed somewhere useful. Palpatine accepts instantly. Because Palpatine sees the trap, supply lines, cost, time. An army that big bleeds itself without an enemy firing a shot. And for a while, the Emperor is right. Food shortages hit. Ammunition rationing becomes routine. Separatist holdouts learn a new tactic. Don't fight Vader. Vanish. Force pursuit. Burn his fuel on empty targets. Let bureaucracy starve him. The campaigns bog down. Reports reach Coruscant. Lord Vader requests more supplies, more ships, more relief. Palpatine reads them and smiles. Then Vader adapts. He does what he did on Tatooine as a boy. Build a solution out of whatever doesn't run away fast enough. He hires smugglers to move supplies around blocked lanes. He cuts deals with pirates, turns criminals into contractors with a lightsaber pointed at their future. He creates a shadow logistics network that ignores the official machine. His sector stabilizes. Not because it becomes good, because it becomes controlled. Vader learns something Palpatine never meant to teach him: how to govern. He proposes a retirement initiative for clones, settlements on reclaimed Outer Rim worlds, land grants, credits, a story the Empire can sell as gratitude. Palpatine takes the idea and stamps his name on it like it was always his. Then he plants governors loyal to Coruscant over those worlds, ensuring Vader can't simply call retired clones back into uniform. A leash made of paperwork. Vader doesn't snap it with violence. He bends it with quiet pressure. A conversation behind a closed door. A signature that appears where fear already lives. A governor who abruptly stops resisting. An official who suddenly discovers the permit didn't have to die in committee. His territory becomes a pocket of strange calm in a galaxy growing more brutal. Refugees leak in, former separatist administrators, displaced civilians, officers who fall out of favor, criminals seeking protection under a stronger criminal. Even a few Kaminoans reappear under Vader's protection. Specialists and survivors moved before Palpatine's regime fully erased the trail, because they understand what happens when the Emperor decides you're finished. Palpatine sees the pattern. A sector that answers to Vader first. A man with soldiers who would follow him anywhere. A public myth that doesn't match the Emperor's script. So Palpatine waits. And the Force hands Vader an opening. It happens on Tatooine. Vader tells himself it's strategy, cut-hut influence, tighten outer rim control, starve the syndicates that keep rebellion funded. He doesn't admit the truth. Part of him wants to see the sand again, just to prove it can't touch him. His troops stop at a moisture farm for supplies. A boy works near an evaporator, tinkering like the machine is a friend. Blonde hair catches the light. Vader feels it before he understands it. A pull, a familiarity that isn't memory, something in the Force that fits like a missing piece. He calls the boy over. "What's your name?" The boy wipes his hands on his trousers, wary but polite. "Luke Skywalker." The name hits like a hammer against a cracked wall. Luke talks fast, nervous excitement spilling out. He wants out. He wants the academy. He wants stars instead of sand. Vader listens and hears himself at 19, dreaming in a junkyard. "The Empire can use people like you," Vader says carefully. "I can sponsor you." Luke's eyes widen. "You really?" Before Vader can answer, a figure steps from shadow, hooded in brown, older now, but unmistakable. Obi-Wan Kenobi. The air changes. Troopers shift. Hands find triggers. Luke looks between them, confused. "Ben?" Kenobi's eyes don't leave Vader. "You don't want this, Luke. The Empire isn't what you think it is," Luke scoffs. "It can't be worse than the Hutts." Vader's voice is flat. "Nothing is worse than a two-faced traitor." Kenobi absorbs the strike without moving. "If you take him, I'm coming." Vader's gaze flicks to the troopers. One twitch of his hand could end this farm, these people, this argument. He doesn't. Not out of softness, out of calculation. "You will not interfere," Vader says. Kenobi steps closer anyway. "And you will not corrupt him." Vader leans in, low enough that Luke can't hear. "You're alive." Kenobi's voice doesn't soften. "So are your lies." They leave Tatooine with a compromise shaped like a knife. Luke joins the Imperial Academy in Vader's sector under Vader's sponsorship. Kenobi travels with them under a false identity, presented as a former Republic strategist hired for his tactical value, because Vader can't admit the real reason he tolerates him. Luke is safer if Kenobi is near, and Kenobi keeps Luke's presence folded down, untrained and quiet, buried under Vader's own shadow. Luke grows fast. He becomes a pilot, a leader. Vader's second-in-command in the pocket of the Empire that runs cleaner than the rest. Kenobi trains him quietly in the Force, always watching Vader's line, always ready to pull Luke away if the monster reaches too far. Years pass. The rebellion stops being rumor and becomes weather. Cells link. Weapons move. Alderaan's ships vanish. Data vaults empty. Stormtrooper patrols disappear in alleys and never report back. Palpatine tightens control on everyone. On Vader, too. A directive arrives stamped with authority so heavy it makes the air feel thinner. Alderaanian assets are implicated. Rebel support is growing. An example must be made. Vader reads it twice. Kenobi watches his face. "Bail is your ally in this." Vader's voice is hard. "Bail is no one's ally. He's a man trying to survive." Kenobi steps closer. "If you follow this order, you become the Emperor's hand again." Vader's eyes lift. "I've been his hand since Mustafar." Kenobi doesn't blink. "Then cut it off." Vader tries to warn Bail through channels that don't leave fingerprints, tries to push rebel units to ground, tries to limit the damage while obeying enough to keep Palpatine from crushing his sector outright. It isn't enough. A rebel ship escapes an engagement by sabotage and desperation. Vader's forces disable it. Boarding teams fight through corridors that explode. Doors lock squads in steel coffins. Panels burst like shrapnel. The ship resists like it's alive. In the final chamber, the rebel leader fires wildly and rushes. Vader catches her in the Force and lifts her off the deck, fingers tightening. Her helmet hits the floor. Brown eyes, not Padme's face, but familiar enough to make his breath catch. Kenobi's blue blade ignites between them, bright in the smoke, and before a single trooper can panic fire, Vader lifts one hand. Every rifle and blaster locks in place, safeties jammed by invisible pressure, a silent warning that says nobody moves unless he allows it. "Stop," Kenobi says, voice low. "You do not want to do this." Vader's rage flares. "How many men do I bury because of them?" Kenobi's eyes lock on the girl. "Look at her." Vader looks. The Force answers, a presence, bright, furious, a twin shape echoing the boy he already has, Leia. The realization hits like a collapse. Vader's grip loosens. Leia drops to the deck coughing, staring up at him with hatred sharp enough to cut. "This man is not my father," she spits. "I will never associate with one of the Emperor's dogs." The words land harder than any blade. Vader steps back like the floor moved. Luke stares at Kenobi, horrified. "You knew." Kenobi's voice tightens. "I chose what would keep them alive." Leia coughs and laughs bitterly. "Alive for what? For him to put his hands around my throat?" Vader tries to speak. Nothing comes out clean. There are no sentences that undo years. Leia is taken into custody, but not tortured, not paraded, kept close because Vader cannot stand the thought of losing her after almost killing her with his own hands. That night, Kenobi finds Vader alone. Not to forgive, to witness. Vader sits in meditation, hands clenched like he's trying to crush himself from the inside out. "I nearly killed her," Vader says, voice breaking in a way it never did when he was screaming in lava. "My daughter." Kenobi's face is weary. "You can't erase what you've done." Vader's eyes lift. "Then what is left?" Kenobi answers quietly. "You carry it, and you choose what you do next." Vader's jaw tightens. "Palpatine." Kenobi nods once. "Yes." Vader moves. He doesn't announce it to the galaxy. He strikes like a coup that understands logistics. Depots burn. Shipyards vanish. Imperial factories go dark. His clone-heavy veterans hit key systems with a precision Palpatine didn't expect. Older now, many moved into command, training, and specialist roles because accelerated aging catches everyone, but still loyal in a way conscripts never learn. Some rebel cells cooperate, not because they trust him, because they understand timing. Leia refuses to stand at his side, but her network leaks routes, codes, targets, the bones of the Empire. She gives information like a weapon, not a gift. Palpatine stands on a landing platform on Coruscant while smoke rises over his city like a second atmosphere. He looks amused. Then Vader's shuttle arrives. The ramp lowers. Vader steps out flanked by Luke and Kenobi. Red guards tense. Senate spires loom. Coruscant's traffic keeps flowing in distant lanes like the planet is trying to pretend nothing is happening. Palpatine's smile is thin. "So you have finally shown your hand." Vader's voice is steady. "Your reign ends." Palpatine laughs softly. "I repaired you. I refined you. I gave you back your strength." His eyes narrow. "Did you think that made you free?" Lightning erupts. The fight is immediate and violent. Vader ignites his blade and takes the front. Kenobi splits left, precise as a scalpel. Luke moves right, raw and determined, teeth clenched like he can bite through fate. Palpatine's red blade is a blur. Experience and cruelty compressed into motion. He parries Vader's heavy strikes and slips around Kenobi's geometry, trying to break their shape and isolate the weakest link. He goes for Luke. A strike grazes Luke's leg. Luke drops. Palpatine raises his hand, gathering lightning. Luke does something reckless. He grabs Palpatine's wrist and forces it aside, electricity ripping through him. He holds on anyway. Kenobi moves to help. Palpatine flings him back with a wave of dark power. For a second, it's just Luke and the Emperor, young will against ancient malice. And then blaster fire cracks the air. Leia, freed in the chaos by people who know the palace routes better than the guards do, stands at the edge of the platform, face hard, hands steady. She fires. A bolt strikes Palpatine's shoulder. He flinches, not from pain, from surprise. The smallest hesitation possible. Vader uses it. He surges forward, grabs Palpatine by the head, and locks the lightsaber across his throat. The Emperor's eyes widen, rage and recognition mixing into disbelief. "No!" Palpatine hisses. "This cannot be." Vader's voice is low. "It can." One stroke, silence falls like a curtain. For a beat, Coruscant doesn't know what to do with the absence. Then the Empire fractures, not into peace, into competing teeth. Governors become warlords. Admirals choose sides. Loyalists scream for order while rebels scream for freedom, and the galaxy discovers the truth. Palpatine hid under fear. The Empire was one man, and without him, it's just machinery with no hand on the controls. Officers offer Vader the throne. He refuses. Not because he is pure, because he is awake. He knows what he is capable of. He knows what he has done. He knows a Sith crown is still a cage, just with a different name on the lock. So he doesn't take the galaxy. He takes responsibility where he can. Bail Organa returns to Coruscant under guard and then under protection, stepping into a provisional authority that feels impossible until it is happening. Mon Mothma's voice rises where fear used to live. Masameta tries to speak and finds a room that no longer kneels on command. Vader retreats to the Outer Rim sector he built, his scar on the map, and begins the slow work of not destroying everything he touches. Luke becomes the spine of the military that holds the line while the galaxy tries to rebuild. Leia enters politics like a blade, sharp, unwilling to soften, and begins training in the Force not as forgiveness but as refusal. Power will not belong only to monsters again. Kenobi stays close, wary, present, because the future is fragile, and Anakin Skywalker, whole, restored, and dangerous, still has choices left. That's the twist Palpatine never understood. A properly repaired Vader isn't gentler. He isn't redeemed by medicine. He is complete, and the rule of two finally works the way it was designed to. The apprentice grows strong enough to kill the master. The cycle accelerates. The Sith don't fall because an army defeats them. They fall because they can't stop building successors. What if Palpatine properly repaired Darth Vader? In this timeline, he did. And he forged the one thing every Sith master fears, a blade that doesn't need to kneel. If you enjoyed this alternate path, hit like, subscribe for more Star Wars stories, and may the Force be with you.